Hello and welcome to this Friday's edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Kadia Loy-Knight. Here's today's reminder. You can do anything, but not everything. As the week comes to a close, remember to prioritize, focus on what matters, and aim for quality over quantity. This month, we are prioritizing our children, so try to make a positive impact in the life of at least one child today. Stay with us. We have a great lineup coming up right after the news.
The Consumer Affairs Commission, CAC, is advising the public that Pan-Caribbean Sugar Company Limited has issued a product recall notice. Consumers who have purchased this product with the manufacturing dates March 30 to April 12, 2026 are asked to return them to the point of sale to seek appropriate redress. In cases involving serious health risk, consumers should seek medical attention where necessary and retain any medical documentation to support their claim. For further information or to lodge a complaint, please contact the Consumer Affairs Commission at 876-619-4222. Complaints can also be submitted via their website at cac.gov.jm or email info@cac.gov.jm.
Good day, I'm Jabertha Atkinson, and this is your JIS News for Friday, May 15, 2026. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management (ODPEM) is asserting that the relatively low rate of cash expenditure from funds donated for Hurricane Melissa emergency response is not due to inaction or a lack of recovery activity. Instead, the agency says it reflects prudent financial management. ODPEM is responding to the Auditor General's Hurricane Melissa Relief Initiative audit report, which reveals that of the $1.44 billion in cash donations received, only $26.2 million, or 1.8% of the money, had been spent as of February 23 this year. With many expecting much of that money to have gone to roof repairs, a statement from the agency explains that almost $400 million in donated building materials and sundries were already available to support the government-directed roof repair program. A decision was therefore made to avoid duplicative expenditure and instead preserve the donated monies for other approved recovery priorities. The agency reports that to date, approximately $135 million has been spent in support of the roof repair program, with 461 roof repairs already completed. In addition, $600 million is earmarked to support the construction of concrete bases for the modular housing units being purchased for persons who lost their homes during the storm. Addressing the governance matters highlighted in the Auditor General's report, ODPEM reveals that in February it formally sought approval for the regularization of the donated funds to ensure these were properly treated as public monies and incorporated into the approved budgetary framework before further expenditure could be undertaken. The agency also indicated its intention to utilize approximately $500 million of the regularized funds to support government and partner-led repair initiatives under the Shelter Recovery Program. Going forward, ODPEM says it remains committed to ensuring that all relief resources placed under its stewardship are managed transparently and responsibly. Accordingly, steps are being taken to reinforce delivery protocols and enhance the oversight of material movements during relief and recovery operations. The government will continue reclaiming unused lands in agro-parks as part of efforts to boost agricultural production and improve land utilization across the island. Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining, Floyd Green, says 120 acres of land were taken back last year from persons who failed to properly use the properties. He reveals that another 280 hectares have already been identified for possible repossession this year if they are not placed under production.
This will increase our utilization closer to 80% of our agri-parks.
At the same time, work continues to expand agri-parks across the island, with development now underway at New Pen in St. Mary, Low Lane in Portland, and 2 sites in St. Anne, Lidford and Hindstown. Meanwhile, 600 hectares of agricultural land have been earmarked for irrigation expansion to strengthen Jamaica's farming sector. Agriculture Minister Floyd Green says the 5-year initiative will bring more than 50% of the country's arable land under irrigation coverage. He gave the update during his sectoral debate presentation in Parliament on Wednesday. Among the major projects outlined is the Pedro Plains irrigation expansion, which is expected to serve more than 4,000 hectares of land, along with several smaller projects that will support an additional 2,000 hectares.
I want to assure the farmers in Essex Valley that we will be turning on their irrigation supply before the end of 2026. In Amity Hall and Bridgepen, the second quarter of 2027, we will turn on that irrigation system. We are building a better Jamaica through irrigation.
In addition, the National Irrigation Commission will begin exploring non-traditional water sources this year to expand supply to farmers. These include desalination facilities, where salt is removed from seawater, and grey water technologies that treat and reuse water from sources such as sinks and showers. The Ministry of Health and Wellness has officially launched its Citizens Charter and Wait Experience program to improve customer service and strengthen public confidence in the public healthcare system. During the launch on Wednesday, it was revealed that a new unit has been created within the ministry to focus specifically on enhancing the patient and client experience. Portfolio Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says while principles of customer service and patient care have long existed within the public health system, the new structure is intended to ensure those principles are consistently applied and enforced across all facilities.
People must feel that they have recourse if they don't get what they want. And that must happen as automatic. And you have to drill that in through communication, public education, training, whatever it is. Because otherwise they're going to seek recourse elsewhere.
Dr. Tufton says accountability will be central to the program, with unannounced inspections, performance assessments, and stronger enforcement measures for underperforming institutions and personnel. Addressing the issue of waiting time, he asserts that delays are unavoidable in healthcare systems worldwide, but insists that the experience of waiting must be improved through communication, empathy, and timely responses.
Now, when it comes to sickness, it's a different kind of wait. People wait in anxiety, with uncertainty. We have to now appreciate that always have to use the customer's perspective as the benchmark for how we respond. And we're going to have to be as accommodating, and therapy really should start at the gate, not on the prescription pad.
A national menopause and andropause policy is being developed by the Ministry of Health and Wellness to address the impact of these age-related changes affecting approximately 400,000 Jamaicans. Portfolio Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says the draft policy is near completion.
Which will go to Cabinet this month. Once approved, will go to the Chief Parliamentary Council. Policy is almost complete based on consultation.
Data shows that approximately 240,000 women over 40 years of age face challenges with menopause, while about 145,000 men over 50 face challenges navigating andropause.
The time has come for us to right-size our health system to respond to this as a problem in order to overcome the challenges that these women face. But the men are not to be left out.
Dr. Tufton was making his sectoral debate presentation on Tuesday. He also announced plans for a national education and health promotion program, along with training initiatives to ensure menopause and andropause are included in health professional curricula and other civil society groups. Additionally, a consultant will be engaged to work with professional groups to help normalize discussions surrounding the conditions, including conversations on clinical applications and medication. Dr. Tufton disclosed that work was already underway through the efforts of Professor of Public Health and Aging at the University of the West Indies, Dr. Denise Eldermeyer-Scherer, and an aging committee appointed by the ministry. And finally, Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Favour Williams, is urging permanent secretaries and heads of entities to be innovative and strategic as they lead in building a resilient and future-proof public service. The minister made the call during the 2026 Government of Jamaica Service Excellence Conference held at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel on Wednesday.
Today, I issue a clear charge to every leader in the public sector. Our country, Jamaica, has come a long way, and we are now at a decisive stage in the evolution of our public sector. We're no longer simply building systems for efficiency. We are building systems that must perform under pressure, adapt in real time, and continue to serve our citizens regardless of circumstances. This requires a shift in how we lead.
The conference is part of the government's broader public sector modernization agenda and supports the implementation of the Service Excellence Policy that was introduced in 2022. To date, 33 ministries, departments, and agencies are actively implementing the Service Excellence Program. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Jabertha Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for staying with us. Health is our wealth, and staying healthy starts with the choices we make every day, especially when it comes to food. Our next feature explores one way the government is helping Jamaicans live healthier lives. One hint, read the nutritional facts.
Part of maintaining good health is knowing our nutritional requirements and what is in the foods we consume. When we know, we are able to make better choices about what we eat and empowered to avoid non-communicable diseases (NCDs) such as diabetes, hypertension, cancers, and cardiovascular diseases like stroke and heart disease. In recognition of this, the government encourages consumers to look carefully on the ingredients and nutrition facts labels on foods.
NCDs is a national crisis, and what and how we eat is a contributory factor to developing or worsening. Our message, healthy eating, active living, read it before you eat it, places emphasis on educating and empowering people about the choices made for food consumption. In keeping with our vision for a healthy Jamaica, our goal is to equip Jamaicans to read food labels in order to make healthier food choices.
The fact that more than 70% of deaths in Jamaica are linked to NCD conditions, which are increasing, is enough reason for all of us to eat healthy foods, exercise regularly, and get adequate rest. The Ministry of Health and Wellness, through the Nutrition Facts Panel media campaign, is fast tracking its response to the scourge of non-communicable diseases (NCD) by getting more Jamaicans to zoom in on what's in their food. The campaign is a collaborative effort of the Ministry of Health, the Heart Foundation of Jamaica, National Health Fund, and the Jamaica Association of Professionals in Nutrition and Dietetics.
I think this is a great start, and it supports the other things that we're doing, like school nutrition policy, the physical activity program, the elimination of trans fats, and so on. We have to see it all related and linked and make the push to get it working.
Preliminary findings of a recent baseline evaluation survey for Nutrition Facts Panel Education campaign show that while 70% of Jamaicans have a general awareness of Nutrition Facts Panel and 69% express a positive attitude towards them, only 30% are able to accurately interpret and apply the information on them. Ingredients on food labels are listed from the greatest to the least amount of nutrients. Pay attention to things like fats, sodium, and sugar, of which you are to consume a percentage daily value of 5% or less. Keep these in mind as well. The general daily limit of added sugars is 6 teaspoons or 24 grams for women and children, while for men it's 9 teaspoons or 36 grams. Your fat intake should be 6 teaspoons or 30 grams, including 13 grams for saturated fat. The general daily limit for sodium is less than 1 teaspoon or 20 grams. It's also recommended that we reduce consumption of foods that have a percentage daily value greater than 20%. Choose foods that are high in dietary fiber, minerals such as iron, calcium, magnesium, and potassium, and vitamins. Go for products with percentage daily values greater than 20% for these nutrients.
It is important that Jamaicans learn to read and interpret the Nutrition Facts Panel with its information on serving sizes, calories, nutrients, and percent daily value for the individual intake. This will empower people to choose foods that allow them to maintain energy and the appropriate nutrient requirements, particularly sugars, salts, and fats.
Are you interested in buying land or property? Here are the steps you should follow. Step 1. Find out who is legally authorized to sell the property. Step 2. Ensure all property tax payments are up to date. Step 3. Consult an attorney at law who will guide you through the process and protect your interests. You can also use eLand Jamaica to check on matters pertaining to your property purchase. For more information, contact the National Land Agency at 876-750-5263 or 876-946-5263. Email asknla@nla.gov.jm or message us on WhatsApp at 876-418-5089. The National Land Agency. One agency, one goal to serve you better.
The government is creating international job opportunities for Jamaicans through the Overseas Farm Work Program. Our next feature breaks down how this Ministry of Labour program works and how interested citizens can apply.
Through government-authorized programs, Jamaicans can access work in Canada and the United States of America, with streams in agriculture and hospitality. In the US, these fall under the H-2A program for agriculture and H-2B for hospitality jobs, providing structured pathways for those seeking to earn abroad while gaining experience and skills. In Canada, applicants can participate in the Seasonal Agricultural Workers Program SAWP, which falls under the W1 category for agricultural employment.
So once those persons are identified, they go through a preliminary process of assessment to see if they are first eligible. And to be eligible, you have to meet certain criteria. You have to be between the ages of 21 and 45. You have to be a Jamaican national. You have to be literate and numerate. You have to be fit physically. You have to have the ability to do the work that will be required of you. And this is also a big part of the assessment in terms now, in recent times, of your psychometric capacity.
From there, ministry experts and liaison officers meet candidates one-on-one, assessing readiness, fitness, and technical knowledge to determine their readiness for the program.
Do you know about farming, which is another one of the criteria? Do you have any experience in this area? And to tick off the boxes of your fitness, whether it is physically or mentally, to do the job. Again, that moves through that process, and then you go to another stage. If you are selected at that stage, you move on.
Those who fall short are not left behind. Under the No One Left Behind policy, individuals may receive Heart NSTA Trust training, literacy support, or rehabilitation grants to start small businesses at home, ensuring everyone has a second chance. An important point to stress, there is no fee to apply, and recruitments are not done through social media.
Because of the widespan reach of social media and the ease for persons to just create pages, many persons have created pages with my image, with other persons who are connected to the program, their image, and have given the impression that we are recruiting through social media. That will never be done, and that is not done by the Ministry of Labor. So once you see that, you know immediately you should be on alert. There's a preliminary training for all persons who have been selected. We work with our partners in the US and Canada to see how we can expedite and facilitate their application for visa. Our liaison service starts here with the team here at East Street, facilitating their travel, giving them whatever support for medical evaluation and anything else that is needed in terms of placement at the different farms. And they go from A to Z in terms of support along the entire chain, the entire journey that takes them from their home to East Street, to the airport, to Canada or to the US. Our liaison officers will then take charge to the whole experience that they have, the lived experience, wherever they are placed.
While the agriculture stream remains the most recognized, the hospitality stream is growing, offering jobs in hotels, housekeeping, and culinary services, particularly opening doors for women. But unlike farm work, hospitality placement requires certification, often through the Heart NSTA Trust and industry experience. At its core, the Overseas Employment Program is about more than earning foreign wages.
The Overseas Program has provided significant opportunity for thousands of Jamaicans. You have 16,000 Jamaicans over there between the US and Canada, and significant financial gain for individuals who can use that to support their children going to school, to support the building of their homes, development in their own community, and to come back home. The goal is for you to go over, get work, make money, and help Jamaica.
For more information, please contact the Ministry of Labour and Social Security at 876-676-5694. Email prunit@mlss.gov.jm or visit their website at www.mlss.gov.jm. Would your child know what to do if approached by a stranger?
If someone tries to pull you into a car, what is the first thing you would do?
Run away.
And where would you run to?
The police station.
If a stranger offers you candy or toys or money to go with them, what would you say?
No.
No,
Why?
because they can hurt you. I would say no and run.
Because they're dangerous.
So what must you do if someone comes and asks you to go with them?
I will bite them and fight them.
What would you do if someone grabs your hand and won't let go?
I'll bite them and run.
I will tell my teacher that is not a person that I know.
Should you stay quiet or make noise if someone tries to take you away?
Make noise because people might hear you and help you.
Say know, run, and tell.
This is a message from the Jamaica Information Service.
As mentioned earlier, it's Child Month, and the theme guiding this year's observance is prioritizing our children's mental health. Our next feature highlights how one institution is building stronger minds by creating a safe and a supportive environment for its students.
Here at Millennium Kids, we love, care, and protect our children, and we're always getting involved in their day-to-day lives, in their day-to-day activities. How we do so is that we will not attack them with questions, but try to build a conversation in which we can relate to whatever they are going through. Sometimes they might just come to the office, which is very regular, with various challenges. And when they come, I always provide that support. The teachers do as well. Sometimes they might just need a hug. Sometimes they might just need just to let them feel special. Sometimes it's just to give them extra lunch money or extra lunch or a snack or so forth. Just to let them know that we are here and they can confide in us and they can just come to us for anything at all.
The early childhood students at their age level, they are very playful and they love to touch each other and to do different things. So there are many times when they will have conflicts in the classroom amongst themselves. So what I will do, I will ensure that I listen to each child's problem or concern, and then I will know how to deal with the situation.
For the bigger students, we realized that isolation is one of them. They tend to shy away from speaking to their peers or to persons at home. So us as teachers, we normally identify that situation where we pull closer to them in one, asking them questions, be playful to them, and also have that bond where it is okay for them to come to us as teachers and speak to us. We have students get angrily very easy. So therefore, when we realize that we would observe them, after observing them, we will ensure that we put things in play. We instill in them to be loving, caring, sharing, and also to be respectful to their peers. Not only their peers, to their teachers. We are very attentive to what they say, what they do, and we listen to them.
We never asked to enter this life. We do nothing of misery and strife. You call us here on your own, so please don't leave us alone.
This is where we wrap up today's program. I hope you've been informed, inspired, and uplifted. Join us again tomorrow for another engaging edition of Jamaica Magazine right here on this station. If you have missed any part of today's show, you can catch the repeat and more stories at jis.gov.jm. I'm Kadia Loy Knight. Thanks for watching, and as always, what good.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.